Okay, good morning. Today our target has a lot to do with the um, compare and contrast anchor chart that you're looking at. Last week we focused on arguments, right? And we focused on the parts of a really good argument, the claim, the evidence, and the reasons, right? And so we focused on just one argument at a time. Well, this week we are going to step it up a notch, and we are going to be comparing and contrasting two arguments together. Well, Ms. Johnson, why are we even doing this? Comparative thinking, guys, is like one of the first most natural forms of thought, right, that we have. When we're little babies or when we're infants, one of the first differences that we have to identify is between our mom and our dad, or our mom and maybe some other family member, right? And so without the ability to make comparisons, to set one idea, one object against another, or to not be able to take note of similarities and differences, what we all call learning would be really, really a challenge if we didn't have this particular skill down, right? Being able to identify how ideas and concepts are similar and how they're different. Okay, or else we would get our mom and our dad, or our grandmother and our grandfather, aunt and uncle, our siblings versus strangers. We would get all of those things mixed up. So it's a basic, natural form of thought that we have soon as we're born, actually. Okay, and so you may be thinking, okay, what makes this so special? Okay, again, being able to identify similarities and differences, it helps our ability to analyze things that we're reading so much more better. Okay? And so, what our goal is today is to quickly review what compare and contrast means. Okay? And then we're going to be reading one argument called "Should a Tiger Be Your Pet?" Okay, and as we're going to be reading this particular text, I want us to be thinking about, is there a claim being presented? Is there evidence? And are there reasons presented? Now, we're not going to totally abandon what we've been doing with arguments. We are just going to still do the same thing, identify those components, but we're going to do two arguments at the same time and identify the components, and then we're going to look at how the two arguments are alike and how they may be different. When we contrast, we tell how they're different, okay, and some of the signal words are however, although, on the other hand, as opposed to, more than, less than, on the contrary. Now, this list is not exhaustive, meaning these are not the only clue words. These are just some, right? And so when we compare, we are identifying ways in which the two articles that we're going to be reading are alike. Okay? And some of the clue words are going to be similar to, alike, same as, not only, resemble, as well as, or both. Okay? So, I want us to be thinking about, as we read our first text today, should a tiger be your pet? And I know your mind is probably already moving. It's like, okay, a tiger for a pet? Some of you may be thinking that would be cool. And some of you may be thinking, not so much. Not a tiger. I've seen the teeth on those things, or I've seen the paws on those things, right? Or I've heard the growl, right, that comes out of the mouths of tigers. So I know that we probably already have some differing opinions about whether a tiger should be a person's pet. And so, but I want you to reserve your judgment until we read the text today, okay? And again, as we're reading the text, I want you to start really zooming in on those claims, evidence, and reason, because ultimately, once we finish the second argument, we are going to be noting, right, those parts of both arguments on a graphic organizer, where we are going to compare and contrast the two. We're going to compare and contrast the claim in one versus the other, the evidence presented in one versus the other, and the reasons presented in one versus the other. And then we're going to see how they are alike, right? Okay, so what I want you to do now, I want everyone to go ahead and take out their journal, and you are going to title it Compare and Contrasting Arguments. Okay? And if you like, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick minute, and you can actually recreate this particular graphic organizer in your journal as a note. Okay? And then once you've done that, then we'll go ahead and move on and start looking at our first argument. Again, should a tiger be your pet?